关键对话：以巴战争是一道难解的习题，不只造成了人道危机，也让投资人伤透脑筋。而每一回碰到重大事件，我们常常会听到的是 VIX 恐慌指标又开始飙升的情况。这到底是什么样的原理？这个指标为何能够立刻反应呢？今天的关键对话为您邀请到恐慌指标之父 Dan Galai， 跟我们一起分析金融情势。
关键时刻掌握关键对话。大家好，我是志杰。以色列和哈马斯的战火震撼全世界，这恐怕会让金融市场更加的动荡不安。最近也可以看到呢 ，VIX 恐慌指标有大幅度波动的情形。未来包括像是美元、油价、债券到底会怎么走呢？今天关键对话为您邀请到的是 VIX 恐慌指数的共同创办人 Dan Galai， 他在战火爆发的时刻来到台湾，而他来自以色列，为我们带来第一手观察。Hello, Mr. Galai. Welcome to our show.
Hello, Ginger. Hello, Taiwan. Happy to be here.
Israel-Hamas war is heartbreaking. As an Israeli, I want to know your perspective on the conflict.
It's terrible. It shouldn't have happened. And I don't see any sense in starting such a war. Because I don't think that any real objectives will be achieved by the Hamas by having such a war.
Are you apprehensive about the economy?
Now it will have an effect for sure because so many people are now on duty, on reserve duty, fighting. So it will have effect on productivity, on development, but it's not an immediate effect. It will take a few months until we see the statistics and we can actually sort of analyze and see what is the impact, but the impact cannot be positive.
What about the worldwide economy?
We are talking about a very small place on the globe. I don't think that the conflict, if it's contained and stays only a conflict between Israel and the Gaza Strip, it's not going to have any effect on the world economy.
Okay, let's hope for the best. Not only the war, there are so many bad news happened recently. And we know the VIX index is a tool which can gauge the volatility of the market. And you are the creator of this index. Can you tell us the logic behind the index and how can investors leverage the index for more accurate strategies?
With pleasure. Yes, we came with a proposal in the mid-80s of the last century, proposed it to the exchanges. What is unique about the VIX index that it's built or structured based on market prices. And it's the only index that is forward-looking. Any economic index that we use, including the stock market index like the Dow Jones, S&P 500, they are based on past data on realization of stock data. The VIX is based on options data, on actual options that are traded now, this minute, but it's projecting the volatility as reflected in option prices 30 days ahead. So it's the only index, financial index that we have, that is based on actual data, but it's forward-looking. Hence, that's part of the uniqueness. And since options are like insurance contract, if you take the basic option, put option, it's really like an insurance contract. So you can look at it as we insure against market decline. So if the participants in the marketplace expect prices to decline, they will be willing to pay higher insurance premium. It will be immediately reflected in the VIX. So the VIX is fully reflecting the price of insuring against declines in the stock market, while it's based on actual prices. And that's the uniqueness. So it's very simple as a gauge of fear, of uncertainty, 30 days ahead. In addition, since it's ex-ante, it's looking forward, it provides you very unique information about the market sentiments. Not by asking people how they feel. They don't have to fill any survey. They do it with the money they pay for the options. And that's the best indicator. If people are willing to pay more, the VIX will be higher, and it reflects what they feel and willing to put the money on.
Why 30 days, not like 1 day, 15 days?
Great question. Since at the time that I was constructing the index, the exchange, the CBOE, had very few series of options. They had options for 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months only. So I thought, what will be the minimal period of time for which you do the interpolation among the different series of options in order to get sort of an indicative number. And I decided arbitrarily to use 30 days because you have much more trading in those days, in those options that were close to maturity. And I needed liquidity because you want to update the index all the time.
But some analysts think that VIX might sometimes fail to reflect the real state of the market. For example, last year, the stock market tumbles to its lowest levels in years, but the VIX failed to reach new highs. Can you explain why?
You'll find that 95% of the time, the VIX will be in those bands between 10 and 30. In time of crisis, like the beginning of the COVID in March 2020, or the Lehman Brothers collapse in August 2008, the VIX jumped to 60, 80, which shows that the market is in panic. The market is panic when the VIX is going above 40, okay? But 10 to 30 is more or less regular uncertainty, which indicate different changes in market expectations. It's very sensitive because once option prices do change, immediately it's reflected in the VIX.
Talking about the market, the inflation is really high, and the Israel-Hamas war may exacerbate the condition. I want to know your viewpoints on future trends of US dollar, oil prices, and bonds.
The war in the Middle East so far has no effect on inflation. Mm-hmm. It's not going to have immediate effect on interest rate. It's more, again, the American economy. And the American economy has different problems, including what's going on politically in the Congress and Senate between Republicans and Democrats. It may be the case that within a month, the US government will be without a budget. I believe that the inflation and interest rate will stay at least until mid-2024. We are not going to see much decline in interest between mid-2024. So hopefully the high interest rate will have an effect, because so far it has only mild effect on the American economy.
Then what about the oil prices?
Oil prices? Over the long run, they will go down. Demand is not going to expand, especially in many economies, because of recessionary pressures. So if I look at the macroeconomic factors, they lead me to believe that the price of oil, of energy, will go down. But again, it can change if, for example, the winter in Europe or in the United States will be much more difficult. It will be cold temperatures. Usually they increase the demand and the prices.
Yeah. Should we worried about the oil prices so far at this point?
No, I don't think so. And remember also that in the United States, they have huge reserves of shale oil.
The 10-year Treasury yield is soaring. Should the investors be apprehensive about it?
But that was the purpose of the Fed. The Fed was increasing the short-term interest rate, also to increase the long-term, because the long-term interest rate is what affects investments. They want to put some pressure on investments, on borrowing, on consuming, because they want to reduce the demand in the economy in order to fight inflation. They want to bring inflation to below 3% per annum, hopefully to 2%. So for savers it's good, for investors it's less good, for consumer borrowing people it's less good, but that's the purpose of the policy.
And investors are anxious about uncertainties, and Taiwan has a very sensitive position in geopolitical terms. How do you assess the uncertainty of Taiwan for a capital market?
Again, it's political issues that we are not trained to answer, especially, it's the first time I came to Taiwan, and after a week, I'm more expert in the food, Taiwanese food, than in the Taiwanese economy. It seems to be pretty resilient from what I see. Yes, you live with this geopolitical uncertainty over a long period of time. But what Mr. Xi will decide, it's beyond what I can say.
The VIX cannot predict
no,
issues
the VIX
like
is not
this.
Maybe we should tell Mr. Xi to
Will you
watch
take-
the VIX and follow it.
Thank you so much. Mr. Galai 认为这个 VIX 指标呢是少数可以预测未来的一个指标，因此呢在应用面上是非常的广。至于在利率方面，他认为高利率的情形恐怕一直会到明年的年中，而这回包括像是以巴战争跟乌俄战争比起来，因为不会涉及像是能源还有大宗商品，所以只要战事的范围不要太扩大的话，对于全球的经济将不会有太大的影响。以上资讯提供给您，我是志杰，关键对话，我们下次再见。